Welcome to ArtStarts Explores, our province of play. My name is Kay Slater, and I'm the gallery coordinator and preparator at ArtStarts in Schools. Every month, we pick a new theme to explore together through art making and play. In these workshops, you can watch along anytime you have time to make, or listen, or just watch. We encourage young people, families, and creative people of all ages to join us every week on Saturdays at 11 a.m. as we release a new episode. These videos are for you, whether you want to join us on Saturday when they become available, or anytime you want to make. We're so glad you're watching. Have you missed a week? Check out artstarts.com/explores-online or any of our videos on YouTube or Facebook to check out an episode you've missed. Okay, let's explore together. Before we begin making, let's review the 3 rules of Explores. We've got rules in quotes here because they're less rules and more like guidelines or things that we like to have in mind before we start making together. First is respect. We practice respect for ourselves by checking in with ourselves every day before we start making. Maybe we didn't have a good night's sleep, or we're feeling really good today. Whatever it is, we want to take the time to check in with ourselves. We also practice respect by doing the same thing for each other. And if we're not making alone, we're making with other grown-ups, or other youth, or friends, or classmates. We want to practice respect by asking them how they're feeling as well, so we can be mindful of each other while we make together. Another way we practice respect is with our tools. That can be about putting them away when we're all finished, or using them safely. If somebody else is waiting for a turn to use a tool, we can use our words or our signs and share. We can respect each other by asking how long they'll need the tool so we can move on to something else, or if we need it now, we can let them know when we will be done and tell them we will pass them the tool when we're finished. We can also practice respect by acknowledging the land. So this space that you see here is my studio space. And I'm on the stolen, or unceded, territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations as an uninvited guest on these lands. One of the ways I practice respect is by acknowledging where I'm coming from and to be respectful of the lands, waters, and to the indigenous people who are here and who have been here since time immemorial while I have access to these lands. You can practice respect by finding out the territories and lands where you are watching and making from today, and by being the best guest you can and respecting the host nations, the lands, and waterways where you live. The second rule is that nothing is for keeps. I encourage you whenever possible to take things from the recycling bin. You can take paper that's already been drawn on, or has writing on the back, or is ripped, and then you don't have to feel worried about ripping it up yourself, or crumpling it, or just trying something out. It doesn't have to be good or perfect the first time, because it's not for keeps. And when we're all finished, I encourage you to take it apart. That helps really make it so that it isn't for keeps. Because if you know you're going to take it apart at the end, you don't have to make any finished thing. You can try all the things and ways of making. Our last rule is no expectations. If we're not expecting something to turn out good, or even to turn out bad, we're open to it going in a whole bunch of different ways. And that means that all respectful and creative ideas are good, regardless of what happens after we try something. If you already know how something is going to turn out, if you've done it before, we can be open to trying something completely new and practice surprise. And if it doesn't turn out, that's okay. It's not for keeps. These are the 3 rules that we like to keep in mind when we explore together every week. Okay, let's get making together. Welcome to ArtStarts Explores. This month, we're going to be exploring the theme of tracing. My name is Kay Slater, and I'm the gallery coordinator and preparator at ArtStarts in schools. And for the next month, we're going to be trying out different ways of using tracing in our art making and exploration. This week, what I thought we would look at is exploring this idea of something being the same, but being a little bit different. By that, what I mean is that we're going to trace different things to be the start of an idea or the start of our exploration. Rather than having to have a blank page that we're looking at, we're going to start with a picture or an idea or an image that was created before, either by someone else or even by ourselves, and then building out from that original picture. Before we get started, I wanted us to think about how tracing is a form of copying. Copying isn't a bad thing. It's a bad thing if we lie and pretend like when we are copying somebody else's work and pretending like it's our work. That's lying. That's not respecting other people's work. But the skill that is taking an idea or taking a picture or an image and being able to duplicate it or transfer it into another surface isn't necessarily bad. What's important is thinking about our intentions, what we mean to do by an action. In this space, what we're going to do is we're going to explore without keeping anything. Nothing is for keeps. And so we don't have to really worry about anything that we make today being disrespectful to somebody else who drew something, because we're going to get rid of it at the end of this making session. And so we don't really have to worry about copying. If we were copying somebody else's picture and then we signed our name at the bottom of it and told somebody that we had come up with the idea without crediting or without getting permission from the thing that we are tracing from, then that would be a problem. But here and now, while we're just practicing this skill of tracing, we don't really have to worry about being disrespectful while we are learning how to copy. So with that in mind, let's explore the same, but different. I've gathered a couple of things to explore tracing with you this week. If you want to make along with me, do you have a light box or a window or some tracing paper? I'm going to start with the window. If you have a window that faces out to the light, what you can do is you can actually take your piece of paper and you can stick it onto the window. And then the light of the sun behind the window allows it for an easier transfer of the image onto your page. This is a nice, easy, free way of making a light box. You don't have to be fancy. You just take some regular old computer paper, take the picture that you want to copy, tape it up on the window, put your piece of paper on top of it, and then the sun will shine through the picture and will make it easier for you to be able to see the image that you're going to trace. So if you have a window, you can totally practice tracing by taping up your images on the window. Tracing paper is a specific kind of paper that is something called translucent. Translucent means that the light can actually go through the page easier than, say, a paper like this, which is a little bit more opaque. It's harder for you to see the image underneath. It's I guess another way of saying it could be about thickness, but it's more about how easy it is for the light to transfer through the page. That's why we would stick our picture onto the window. So if you had some tracing paper or some vellum paper, you could use that. I don't have a window in my space. I also don't have any tracing paper, but what I do have is a light box. So I'm going to pull that out and get that all ready. So this is a light box that I have in my studio, and there is a light inside this metal box. So I can turn on the light, and there you go. And so it glows. And so just like the sun behind a window pane, it creates this light so that if I was going to take the picture that I wanted to draw, and see the light is easier. It's more easily coming through the page now, so that when I put my other paper on top, I can see the image a lot clearer than I could without the light. Let's keep going. So that's what I'm going to use this week, but you can use whatever you want. You might have another idea of ways to trace. Do you have some paper? And so I have some paper that I took out of my recycling bin. I have a couple of different kinds of paper here. I have some packing paper that's wrinkled. As I said, I've got some paper that got put into my recycling box. And then I got this really thick paper here that the light really doesn't transfer through, but I wanted to see if I could test it on my light box. But any kind of paper will do. Remember, nothing that we're making this week is for keeps. And so any kind of paper that you can find in the recycling box is going to be great. And then finally, some mark making tools, because we need to be able to trace. You don't have any mark making tools? You could absolutely trace by just using your finger. Remember, one of the things that I was talking about when we are doing tracing is that it is a skill. And so the skill is about deep looking. It's about looking at how somebody drew a picture or made a picture the first time. And so even just by using your fingers and concentrating where your fingers are, what do you notice? What do you see? This can be just as important and just as fulfilling as doing it with a pen or pencil, because you have to focus where your fingers are. You can't be thinking about this part of the picture while you are watching your finger move across a page. You can also be noticing things about your paper as your finger moves across the surface. So that's what I'm going to be making with today. I also found a window from one of my envelopes in my recycling bin. And I wanted to pull this out because you probably will find some of these in your recycling bin as well. And these are kind of like a window. And remember, somebody's already thrown this out. They've already put it into a recycling bin. And so you don't have to worry about marking this up. If you have a marker or a pen, you absolutely could use the window envelope as a way to trace your image. And there's no reason why you couldn't glue this onto another surface. Or when you're done tracing, take this over to the window and put it behind another piece of paper. I'm just going to quickly draw the outline here. Address. Basically, maybe just a little bit more here. All right. There we go. And so you don't have a window, you don't have a light box, you don't have some tracing paper, you could absolutely go into your recycling bin and grab a window from an envelope and rip that out and then use that as your tracing paper. All right, I'll put that to the side. All right, so what I did was I went on the internet and I grabbed a picture In this case, because I am taking a video and I'm sharing this video, I wanted to be respectful and use a picture that I had permission to use. And so this picture, drawn by Sir John Tenniel, is the illustrator who drew the Alice in Wonderland illustrations in the original Lewis Carroll book back in the 1920s. And so because this book is now in the public domain, and so are these illustrations, I can use this and I can share this image without being disrespectful to the rules around who owns this picture. But remember, you have permission to use whatever you're going to be tracing in your space as long as you're not using it for keeps. We're just trying things out this week. And so one of the really cool things about tracing is it lets you ask questions about what if. So what if you were going to draw or trace this whole picture out, but you weren't going to trace Alice's dress? What if Alice wore overalls? Or what if Alice had bunny ears? Or what if what's behind the curtain here isn't a door? And we can play what if by tracing some of the details really quickly onto different surfaces, and then we can try out the what if once we're done tracing. So I'm going to quickly trace the Alice shape a couple of times onto another piece of paper, and then we can play what if with the tracings that I've done in the blank spaces, in the places where I don't trace. So I'm going to turn off my voice for a little bit, I'm going to turn down the light, and I'm going to quickly trace a couple of versions of Alice onto my page. Let's go. Okay. So what do you notice? I'm going to bring out the picture that I originally drew. What do you notice about my tracing? Or if you traced a picture, what do you notice about what you traced? Did you find yourself paying attention to certain things and not paying attention to other things? Did you copy it exactly? Did you go fast or slow? What did you notice? For me, what I notice is that I'm using a different pen, right? I'm using a Sharpie, and Sir Tenniel would have been using probably a fountain pen or pen and ink for this drawing. And so my drawing ends up being pretty light. I didn't copy it exactly. I didn't go very slow. I went very fast, both because I wanted to be able to get it quickly down on the page and it's not for keeps, so I don't really need to spend a lot of time getting it onto the page. But also I wanted to explore what if, and so I only wanted to grab marks or ideas from this page that would start out my idea. I didn't want to be stuck tracing exactly the same thing because I could have just colored in this page if I just wanted to do the exact same picture. What I'm wanting to do is I want to use this as the start of my idea. And so I didn't color in everything. I didn't exactly color in the shoes, my hash marks for the cross hatching for the shadows, isn't as dark. I didn't copy every single line in Alice's dress. The hair isn't exactly the same, but you can basically tell that this was traced from this picture. But what I have the freedom to do now is that while this picture inspires me to start, I'm not going to use my marker. I'm going to use a pencil crayon instead. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use purple so that it's nice. It's a bit dark so you can see it. And instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to change it so that what Alice is actually doing is, instead of pulling back a curtain, what she's got is this. Right? What is Alice doing? Alice is folding laundry because of how Alice's picture or hands were held, right? Because in the original picture, she's pulling back fabric. I use that to think about, oh, what if she's folding fabric? What if she's holding fabric and she's outside and she's taking laundry off of a clothesline? So by taking the figure here, I was able to create a whole new scene. I didn't have to worry about being good at drawing bodies or humans. I was able to just go, no, I want a picture of a person who's standing there, or a young girl who's standing there. And then I want to imagine what else she could be doing in that space. And I could draw this exact figure of Alice being bent over like this multiple times on multiple pages and see how many different places I could take Alice besides Wonderland and her little door here, just by using that picture, just by tracing that one piece from this original picture. You may have noticed that I also traced Alice again on the other side of the page. And the reason I did that was because I wanted to be able to use all of this space over here. So what do you notice about how I traced this one? I'm going to bring this one back up here. What do you notice? Well, the first thing that I notice is that Alice is looking in the opposite direction. And the reason was because the light box that I'm using is so bright, and because the light is pushing through all the places where there are marks on the page, the light can't get through as easily. So I was able to actually flip over my page so that you can kind of see now. Turn my light box back on. There. So you can see Alice is now facing in the other direction. So if you had a picture that you really wanted to trace, but you wanted the figure to be facing in another direction, you could just flip over the page, and now they're in the other direction. So you could draw it like that. And so that's what I did. Decided I would draw Alice facing in this direction. What else? What else do we notice? Well, I decided that I didn't want to draw Alice necessarily in a dress. So I kept Alice's apron here, but I didn't draw the big skirt. I kept almost everything else the same. The arms are still in the same position. The hair is still flowing down. She's still looking away. And she's still got her shoes. I didn't fill in the shoes all the way either, because I wasn't sure if that's where I was going to have the shoes fall. But what I was thinking is that instead I could just bring the legs up here, bring the cross hatching all the way down, quite dark, down the leg, bring this over here so that Alice's leg comes up here, and then instead go, well, maybe Alice is just wearing pants. Put a little pocket in the back here. Nice big pocket, just like the apron, because who couldn't use more pockets? And there we go. So now underneath that apron there, Alice is wearing pants. So just by eliminating some of these things, but by keeping all these things here, I was able to really change what Alice is wearing, and it does end up looking quite different from what Alice has here. But now that Alice is in pants and wearing this, what else do I want to have here? I think what I want is to still use the shape of the hands. I really like how these hands are shaped because they look like they're active, right? Alice is originally holding the key and Alice is pulling back the curtain here. But now I can really focus on these hands and go, okay, well, obviously these hands are doing something. What are they doing? All right, so what is Alice doing? I decided that Alice was out in the garden, that this hand looked like it was holding a garden hose. And so there's my garden hose that comes off from the side. Maybe instead, Alice is wearing gardening shoes, so a pair of Crocs. Go. And so Alice is out in the garden watering the plants. Alice needs to turn off the water because it's getting intense in here. There you go, right? Filled up the watering can, has the hose still on, and is out in the garden. And so by taking just the pieces that I wanted, I was able to say, what if Alice was in pants out in the garden? What if Alice was folding laundry, right? What would it look like? What if? And so I don't have to trace all of it, but I also don't have to start from scratch. Maybe I don't have an idea. Maybe I know I want to draw something. I want to make some marks, but I don't know where to start. Tracing is a great way to start with an idea and go from there and not really worry about it being good or bad. It allows you to just quickly go, well, do I want to draw laundry? Do I want to draw fabric? Do I want to draw somebody doing laundry? Maybe not. No. Instead, I want to draw someone out in the garden. Yeah, that feels better. I like this better. And so now from this tracing here, I could go off and I could draw my own version of this picture using this as a reference, knowing that this person is bent over like this. Here's their body. Here's their arm. It's the same. Their arm needs to come out here, and there's their hand. There's their hand. And then one shoe over here, and one leg over here, right? And so I have this frame of reference now to start drawing my own version of the same picture. And I kind of already know what it's going to look like because I practiced here by using this tracing. Another cool thing that you can do with tracing is to explore colors really quickly. And so if you drew a picture that you really liked, so let's say that you drew this picture, or whatever picture that you want to draw, and then what you can do is you can trace it in multiple ways and go, well, I don't really know what color I want Alice's dress to be. Do I want it to be orange, or do I want it to be pink? Or do I want Alice to have yellow hair? Or would I prefer Alice to have green hair? And so by quickly tracing something, you can ask yourself what would happen, or what would it look like if I drew this with Alice with yellow hair? Or what would it look like if I drew Alice with pink hair? Or, sorry, with green hair. Or let's go pink. What if I drew Alice with pink hair? And so again, you wouldn't have to draw a really accurate a really accurate slow drawing of Alice, you could draw a really quick one just to go, nope, I don't like Alice with pinky red hair. I don't like Alice with blonde hair, but I do like Alice with green hair. And I do like Alice in a pink dress. So when I draw this something for keeps, I know that I want to use green hair and a pink dress. There are lots of different ways that you can explore tracing, and I've just explored a few. You can check out all of our videos online at artstarts.com/explores-online, on YouTube at ArtStarts, or on our Facebook page. We'll be exploring more tracing in the coming weeks, and I look forward to making with you then. As usual, I'm going to leave my camera running a little bit while I clean up my space, because one of the ways that we practice respect is by making sure that we reset our space every week and put away everything so that we can get ready to make again next time. I look forward to seeing you soon. Bye for now.